I would like to call to order the May 21st, 2018 Lake Washington School Board meeting. At first, I will entertain a motion to approve the May 21st agenda.
So moved.
Second.
It has been moved by Director Carlson and seconded by Director La Liberty that we approve the agenda. All those in favor, please signify by voting aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Next is the consent agenda, and I will now entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
It has been moved by Director Stewart and seconded by Director La Liberty that we approve the consent agenda as presented. Tracy, will you poll the board?
Cassandra?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
Siri?
Yes?
Mark?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
As a point of order,
Go ahead.
each week or each meeting, we get a list of personnel changes in the consent calendar. And unfortunately, the resignation list gets longer and longer because of people that just can afford to live in the district. We're losing some great staff, some great teachers, some great aides, some great paras, and it's really a tragedy. A fellow that is one of my son's teachers, who is magnificent, just today said that we saw in the packet that he was resigning, and my wife asked him why. And he said, we've gone from one rental property in Kirkland to another one, and each time we move to a new one, it's more expensive and cruddier, if you will. And finally, they just moved to Carnation because they couldn't do it, and he's going to find a job out there. I would love for us to start looking at working with not only the municipalities, but our unions and some of the large employers around here to start looking for a solution to our problems for teachers and staff that can't afford to live in this area. Just something that we want to think about for the fall.
Okay.
Excellent.
So moving on from there, Tracy, will you review the donations, please?
If you turn to tab 6, we have a number of donations this evening totaling $58,193. And we have a $1,348 donation from Explorer Parent Association to Explorer Community School to provide a stipend for outdoor education. $6,500 from Mark Twain PTSA to Twain Elementary to purchase playground equipment. $2,324 from Rose Hill Middle School PTSA to Rose Hill Middle to provide a stipend for robotics. $4,245 from Eastlake High School band boosters to Eastlake High School to provide bus transportation for the band field trip. $1,900 from Lake Washington class of 77 reunion to Lake Washington High School to purchase gym chairs for competitions. $1,800 from International Community School PTSA to ICS to provide Latin music workshop. $6,848 from Lake Washington High Booster Club and Kane Gridiron Club to Lake Washington High School to provide stipends for coaches and to purchase weight room equipment. $27,728 from Redmond High School PTSA to Redmond High to provide classroom enrichment, purchase classroom supplies, video production, equipment, monitors for the gym, and site licenses for computers at work and Knowledge Matters. $2,000 from the Society for Science and the Public to Tesla STEM High School to provide classroom enrichment, and $3,500 from Tesla STEM PTSA to Tesla STEM High School to support Safe Schools ambassadors. So a lot of very generous donations from varied sources this evening, totaling $58,193.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much to our community who provides that support to us. And now next I have public comment. And has anybody signed up? I did not grab this sheet. Thanks, Matt. And so just as a reminder, on a monthly basis, the Board of Directors does provide an opportunity for public comment during board meetings. And the public comment period is a time reserved during our working meeting for the board to hear from the public. And there are multiple avenues. In addition to public comment, community members can share comments, opinions, or concerns with the board through email, calls, or letters. And please note that public comment is not a question-answer session with the board. The board and superintendent will not respond to community members during public comment, as our goal is to listen and to learn from you. And just so you know, we typically have 30 minutes on the agenda for public comment, and if a number of people are signed up to speak on the same topic, we typically will limit that to 30 minutes. You have 3 minutes to speak, and there'll be lights that will give you an idea as to how that falls out. When your name is called, please approach the podium, speak into the microphone, giving us your full name and school attendance area for the record. It is important for all community members to feel welcome and safe during our board's business meeting, so the board does not take public comments on issues related to personnel or individually named staff at board meetings. Audience members are expected to treat all attendees with respect and civility. So I do have one individual currently signed up. The first person signed up to address the board is YC Liu. So if you'd please come forward to the center microphone, give us your name and school attendance area for the record. Thank you.
Hi, my school attendance is in the Juanita area. So my daughter is in Carl Sandburg Elementary School. So today, what I want to address was about the equity policy of our school district, because there were some pretty active discussions in Bayview School District and Issaquah School District. So I did some online search. It appears that we had a equity policy advisory committee, but that appears to be just a volunteer organization. It's unclear where we are from the school district perspective about how that, when that committee will generate something and how exactly we are going to use their input, or like even the relationship between the board and that committee, because it feels like a black box and we have no idea what's going on and what exactly is the timeline that some information can come out. I know this is not a Q&A session, but I really want to get my input that we should make this transparent in terms of the timeline of what our board is working towards, like next school year or the year after that, or whether that policy committee is going to produce something to public so that we can learn about what's inside it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah, that's what I want to comment.
Oh, excellent. If I can do a favor, if you could give your contact information to Matt Montebianco right behind you, we can make sure to answer those questions and be able to get that information to you. Just as information, there is a website, a web page on our website for the district equity team that does provide the agenda and minutes from those meetings and sort of lays out a summary of those. So that might give some of the basic starting point of where you're looking for. Our work session after this is also going to include discussion around equity policy and that issue. So that's another piece to be aware of. Is there anybody else in the audience who would like to speak tonight? And hearing none, then I think we will move on. Okay, our first item on the non-consent agenda is the petition to change Juanita High School mascot. Dr. Pierce?
Great, thank you. So if I could turn your attention to tab 7, I'd like to read the situation recommendation for the board. Administrative Policy and Procedure File F and File FFR include our procedures for selecting new school mascots and procedures for requesting to change a school mascot. Specifically, the procedure, which is File FFR, states the following. The following procedures are to be followed in the petition to change mascots. 1, the current students initiate a petition to change the mascot to the current student body. The petition must identify the rationale for the requested mascot change. Step 2, upon collection of signatures of 10% of the student body, students may submit the petition, including the rationale for requested mascot change, to the school principal for consideration. Step 3, school and district administration, specifically the school principal, the director of school support, the deputy superintendent and superintendent, shall review the petition and rationale, and the superintendent shall make a recommendation to the board of directors to approve or deny the petition. Step 4, the board of directors will approve or deny the petition to change the school's mascot. Should the board of directors approve the petition, a vote of the entire student body will be conducted, and should a majority of the current student body vote to change the mascot, the school will then initiate the process for selecting a new school mascot, which is outlined in the policy as well. And in fact, you'll recall that we just followed that selection of a mascot policy in conjunction with our 2 new elementary schools. Should the majority of the current student body vote to keep the mascot, then the mascot will remain unchanged. Should the board of directors deny the petition, the mascot will remain unchanged. So Juanita High School students recently submitted a petition requesting to change the school mascot at Juanita High School. Over 10% of the student body signed the petition. There's a copy of the petition in your board folder. And the students' rationale statement was as follows, quote, "The mascot of Juanita High School since circa 1971 has been the Rebels. We feel that the Rebels was not then and is not now an appropriate mascot given the historical associations with racial hate groups, certain past state and federal policies, and societal exclusion, which we feel are objectionable. It does not reflect who we are or what we stand for. We are a modern, inclusive student body, and we reject the racial connotations conjured by the current mascot," end quote. So in accordance with policy, upon receipt of the student petition, Juanita High School Principal Kelly Clapp, Director of School Support Dale Cody, Deputy Superintendent John Holman, and I met to review the petition and rationale. And my recommendation this evening is that the Board of Directors approve the student petition, allowing for a vote of the entire student body to be conducted.
Are there any questions or clarifications on what was?
Quick question. If this proceeds to a vote of the student body, and they come back, and a segment of the student body comes back with a Revolutionary War rebel, is that going to be not on the table because the previous one was taken away? I'm just curious. I don't know, and I just want to ask that for clarification, so no one gets their nose out of shape at a later date.
Yeah, so I'll answer that in this way. I think the mascot is the Rebels. It doesn't specify, any more detail about the
Right,
Rebels.
right.
So if the student body votes to change, if the board approves the petition and the student body votes to change the mascot from something other than the Rebels, then the Rebels couldn't be on the docket for the vote for a new mascot. Good question.
I can entertain a motion, or you can do a point of discussion. either
I
way.
would like to move for discussion.
I would entertain a motion to either approve or not the student petition, then we will open it for discussion.
I move approval.
Second.
Okay, so it has been moved by Director Liberty and seconded by Director Carlson that we approve the student petition allowing for a vote of the entire student body to be conducted. At this point, I will open it to discussion.
Okay, I have a point of discussion. I would like to assure everyone that when the mascot first came to be in 1971, according to the JHS website, under the history page, Juanita officially opened on September 4th, 1971. It goes on to say, the schedule that was used the first 2 years was quite revolutionary and controversial. It consisted of 17 20-minute periods called mods. And it goes on to say, the purpose was to encourage individualization and accommodate partial credit. There was never an intent to name the mascot for anything in the Confederacy or anything that would have degraded another human being. So I wanted to make sure everybody understood that the original intent of the mascot rebel was not anything derogatory. Thank you.
Any other points of discussion?
I agree that as I've looked at the history of the thing, it was 1974 or maybe 71. Yeah, so I was 1 year old at the time. I didn't have a lot of opinion on the subject. Personally, I always think meanings drift. with time. And I don't think that Rebel was as associated with the Civil War at the time as it is now. Personally, I would prefer to associate with Rebel scum and the Rebel Alliance. But nonetheless, neither of those is necessarily where it started. But in the context of modern interpretation, without having, I mean, honestly, just the casual interaction with the mascot, I appreciate the children's concern, our students' concern, with potentially having an offensive mascot. And that is what it is. I think the policy that you've come up with for how they can, A, propose to replace it, and B, then what the mechanism is to follow through, is appropriate and fair. At this point, it would, now that we've got the 10% petition, it goes to a vote of the student body, and it requires a majority of the student body to reject the existing mascot. So I'm comfortable with that. Honestly, the only thing I'm worried about is any costs associated with having to repaint some helmets. So I think this has been done as appropriately as it can.
And I think, too, that the students did exactly what the policy stated that needed to happen in order for this to come to a vote. They received more than 10% of students that signed a petition asking for a change. They took it to administration. Administration brought it to the superintendent. The superintendent brought it to the board. There is no reason for it not to go forward. I just wanted to make sure that the public understands there was no intention at any point in the district to create any kind of controversy over the name Rebel.
Okay, Director LaLiberty?
I was just going to say, I won't waste any more words. I echo what Director Carlson, and both Director Carlson and Director Sage said. I just wanted to say that on the record before we move forward, and I support the recommendation brought by staff.
I would also support the recommendation. I think the process put forward brings democracy and the concept of civil discourse, and how we gave, there's a clear opportunity of how you can bring something back to discussion and a clear outline to do so. So I appreciate the multi-steps that are going forward, and also the recognition of the importance of identity with our schools and the piece to that, and that is valuable. So the use of an information sheet, I think, is valuable and key. And as this goes forward, we have faith that the staff and are assured that we'll continue to maintain that civil discourse and conversation going forward. So I appreciate all that work that went in.
I also applaud the students, the way they went about it. They've done it by the numbers. They're doing it, it'll be now up to them as to what they want. To be quite frank, after a couple of decades, I wouldn't be surprised if other schools wouldn't decide, gee, maybe we ought to have a different mascot for one reason or another, whether it's this reason or it just isn't relevant to us anymore. And I totally understand.
So I guess we can call for a vote. All right. So it is on, we have a motion on the table to approve the student petition, allowing for a vote of the entire student body to be conducted. All those in favor, please signify by voting aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. All right. So our second item on the agenda is the first reading of policy GP2, that would be governance policy 2, exhibit 4, I'm assuming, quorum. So Dr. Pierce.
Thank you. Excuse me. If you could turn to tab 8, we have brought forward a modified policy with respect to quorum that makes it clear that board members are not required to be physically present to attend a board meeting, that there's the opportunity to use technology and have a board member attend that way. So I'll read the new wording to you. It's the underlined portion of the page, and the policy would be amended to read, board members are not required to be physically present to attend a board meeting. Any or all board members may attend a board meeting and vote via any communication platform, including video conference or teleconference, that provides at a minimum simultaneous oral communication between those present. And just a quick word about the intent of the language in case it isn't clear. The intent of this language wouldn't be for all board members to not be physically present and to hold a board meeting over Skype or something, because there isn't a way for the public to then attend that meeting. And so this is in accordance with Open Public Meeting Act and would allow for a board member, potentially two board members, to video conference into a meeting to still be present, because the opportunity for the public to attend that meeting is still there. They would come to the physical meeting. So this wouldn't allow for board members to have meetings that community couldn't attend, because that would be in violation of the Open Public Meetings Act.
Okay, so I will open it for discussion. This is our first reading, so any further discussion or any modifications, and it will come back onto the agenda next June 4th. So go ahead, Director Stewart.
Question. In the event, God knows we've had a few of those, inclement weather, if the notice was put out on the district website that the meeting would be held on Skype, would that satisfy the open meeting law? Just asking. Especially given, blizzard or whatever.
Yeah. Hypothetically, if community members could also Skype into that meeting,
That's why I'm asking, yeah.
then that would be in accordance. Technically, we don't at this point in time have the capability to enable that to happen, so that's the issue.
In review of
Good
the Open
question.
Public Meetings Act, there's actually 3 additional sub-things that come out, sub-criteria that fall out under here, which is around the fact that the public has to have capacity to attend in some fashion, and that's a component to it. So we currently don't have that technology. That technology does exist. We just don't have it and have not utilized it. Part of the reason this came was because as we've been doing some special board meetings and some other issues, it came to be clear that this policy was really not aligned with current standards of where it was at, and also could possibly limit what the work of the board. And so we wanted to ensure that it was clear here of what established a quorum if somebody were to call in. Any other discussion?
I think it also, as you pointed out, it brings us into alignment with technology and where we're at. If somebody absolutely has to be out of town for work or family emergency, technology gives us this wonderful opportunity called Skype or some other FaceTime interface, and we will be able to go forward with that person calling in.
Excellent. Do we need a motion?
Nope, because we're going to put it onto the agenda the next time. Is there any need for revision, any questions, any concerns?
Not concerns, more of a revision for specificity, and I apologize to my lawyer colleague because I'm about to be very precise. A quorum is defined as 3 or more present at a meeting, and 3 or more board members. We need a definition of present, because in the underlined text, it's board members are not required to be physically present. Any or all board members may attend a board meeting, but attendance via whatever communications should be categorized as present, so that it's clear that that is part of the quorum.
Sure.
Yes.
We're not going to talk about whether you're present mentally. Yeah. Anyway.
Your
I just would-
question is around attend and present.
Yeah, I just want to be very
Fair.
clear that being present at a board meeting is now defined as including either physically present or not physically present, but present via telecommunications. So,
I think we can put that forward, that it can be done. We've used the model policy from WASDAM, to structure it, utilizing their legal services.
I don't care.
Okay, so can we request that slight modification of some kind?
I took a note here, but do you have a suggestion for the modification of the actual language? Are you suggesting something specific, just so I can make sure I capture it?
yeah, it's,
Yeah, okay,
I'll give you
sounds good,
my clause later.
sounds good.
Okay, any further discussion?
Nope.
If not, then we should see this again on June 4th with the revision. It will likely be on the consent agenda, unless there's something else that comes up. Okay. At this moment, we are on to board comments. Any board comments? Okay, I would like to give one because I got to attend the exit interview for our audit and our annual audit that we have, and we were given a clean audit with fabulous things, so thank you to staff for the work that they went through to make sure that audit went well. It was also nice that there was a lot of kudos around the fact of how well that audit went for such a complex organization that Lake Washington School District is. So that was a very good validation of the work our staff do in regards to the fiscal policies being followed very well and making sure those things are aligned. So thank you. And the other piece was Dr. Pierce and I had the opportunity to sit and speak about executive limitations and sort of work through some of those policies, as also reviewing the quorum policy and some of our other governance policies. It has come to my attention fairly clearly that all our policies have a revision, at least a review that needs to occur in order to bring things into alignment, such as we have a policy on the evaluation of the superintendent. Our current practice really is not aligned to what the policy says. So we need to go through that, align it how we want it to be to make sure that's in place. There's Governance Policy 10, which talks about handling requests and complaints from our constituents. It's not consistently being followed from the board level, so the question is, how is that supposed to be and how do we want that to be followed so we can make sure those things are all in place and are effective. So that's another piece I see coming down the line along with the executive limitations. So how that's going to fall out in our work plan still remains to be seen. But I wanted to put that out, that all our policies, I think, it's been about 5 to 10 years since they've been reviewed. So it's a significant period of time. And with the superintendent search, it does make a very good idea with the CEO-superintendent relations that we go through those and really define those well, and that we're clear on those, as well as on the board governance policy. So we're clear on all of that. So that will be a piece I think we'll try to bring in quicker. And then the executive limitations are still on for the 25th. That we'll do. In discussion with Tracy, we came to recognize that there was more work to be done on those. Once we started to really put together a template. So as we do that, we'll have a template at that 25th meeting of how to structure things and maybe some samples, and then there'll be more work to do on those going forward. Does that make sense? I just wanted to give you all an update as where all that was at. Any other comments? All right, so then we are on to our,
Just thought I'd mention that last week, the PTSA had their brown bag discussion with the legislators. Very well attended, not only by the public, but also by the legislators. I haven't seen that many in this building in I don't know how long. I think we only had one absent in the entire district, and it was amazing. The input was great. They were also concerned about the problem of teachers not being able to afford, and staff not being able to afford in the district. And they had some ideas as well, and they're looking forward to perhaps working with us on it.
thank you. All right, from there, I will entertain, actually, our next meetings. We are following this meeting with a study session, which will be covering equity policies, strategic planning, and the budget process and facility planning. It's a busy study session. On Wednesday at 5:30, we will have a study session as well, being held in the Hughes Room, and that will be a continuation of the superintendent search process. June 4th, we have a study session on strategic planning and budget process with the board meeting at 7, with a special board meeting on the 14th as well. And the list goes on. I think I'm going to stop on the June 4th one. There are several special meetings. Those are posted online in regards to the superintendent search process going forward. So thank you very much. Any questions? All right, with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
It has been moved by Director Carlson, seconded by Director La Liberty. All those in favor, please signify by voting aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Meeting is adjourned.